And we're live. Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey, Wine, and Writing. I'm your host, Tasha.
And I'm your other host, Nikki, and today we have the awesome urban fantasy author, JC Nelson. Say hello. Hello.
Hi there.
So JC is the author of the Grimm Agency series, and he's going to let us know a little bit about himself. And guys, I just do want to apologize for the delay. Hangouts was not being cooperative tonight. JC, take it away.
My name's Jason Nelson, and I'm by job, I'm a software developer working on bits of software that if they're working, hopefully you'll never know. They're just intended to run in the background. But the job I love to do is I like to write. And by night, when my kids are in bed, I sit down and I make up new worlds and enjoy writing about them. And I used to keep bees and chickens, so I do a little bit of everything.
Bees and chickens.
That's fantastic.
But that just seems like an odd, like if you would have said chickens and goats, I would have got that. If you would have said like bees and wasps, I would have got that. But bees and chickens, that's an interesting mix, I think.
I always wanted to keep bees, so I started keeping bees, and the nice thing is you get honey from them. And then my kids like chickens, and we wound up with more chickens than you should probably anybody should have. But now we have a nice freezer full of chickens, and we have pails full of honey, so it works out.
It does. It works out very, very well. So, like we mentioned, JC is the author of the Grimm Agency, which has 3 books out now. JC, 3 books in the series so far?
There are 2 books out right now. The 3rd book went out in August. The 3rd book's Wishbound.
Oh, okay. Well, I've only read the first one so far. My to-be-read list is just huge from all the Pitchwars Mentors last year, and then this year is not helping, so, it's never-ending reading. But it is an amazing book, so do you want to tell them a little bit about what the Grimm Agency is about?
Yeah, in essence, the Grimm Agency series is my attempt at telling a modern-day fairy tale. I've always been fascinated by fairy tales and how strange and interesting they are, and yet at the same time, if you boil them all down, they talk about things that are very relevant to us. It's still a world where stepmothers and stepdaughters have trouble getting along, and it's still a world where many of us would like to find somebody that loves them. And when I set out to tell this, I really wanted to capture that feeling that goes with the old style fairy tales, and it follows the adventures of a young woman who she lives in New York City, and she works as an agent for the fairy godfather. And he doesn't give wishes anymore. He doesn't do much of any sort of magic anymore. He's a stingy, greedy bastard who makes other people do the work for him, and she's one of the people that does that. And we meet Marissa fairly on. She's been working for Grimm for about 6 years at the time that we first meet her, and at that point she's bitter and she's lonely. She's pretty much angry with the world, and her world's about to get a lot worse, which is how most of our stories begin, because they have to get worse before they can get better.
Absolutely. One of the things that I thought was really cool is that everybody in this world, in Grimm's world, they barter in glitter. As opposed to like money, it's all glitter.
Well, it's a physical form of magic. Magic's the single most valuable currency you can come by in my world. As Grimm says in the book, money's cheap, magic's expensive. So they barter with this for anything that really matters, which doesn't mean they don't like lots of money as well. It just means that if you're going to get anything that you can't get off the shelf at, say, Neiman Marcus, you're probably going to need something gold instead of something green.
It's a really great concept, and I really loved the first book. So, but my question is what made you decide to go with a female protagonist, and did you have any sort of issues trying to get into the mindset of a different gender to make it seem, I don't know, because you know how some readers will be like, oh, it didn't seem like a woman and a man wrote it, or it didn't seem like a man and a woman wrote it. So did you come into any of those issues writing a protagonist of a different gender?
Well, let's see. So in terms of your first question, why did I choose a woman? I really can't answer that. I don't have a good reason why I chose a woman over a man. In terms of making them real, I'll tell you the same thing I told my editor, which is I didn't think much about it. Oh, this is a woman, I have to write it differently. I didn't think much about it being a man, I have to write it differently. I asked myself what people want, and then logically, I tend to believe that people are going to act in a way that's going to get them whatever they want. Even if what they want is not really good for them, they're probably going to do it that way. And I try to think of my characters as just people first, rather than men or women. Then I have a good set of critique partners who come back to me and say, you know, as a woman, I would probably think this differently, or I probably wouldn't do this, or I probably wouldn't do that, and I listen to them. But I'll tell you what I've learned the hard way, and that is just about everything where I've heard from one woman that she would do it this way, I've heard from another of my critique partners, oh, I would never do that. So there's no single formula or passcode that says, oh, this is going to come across as a woman, because they're different. We're all different. Everybody does things differently. So.
Absolutely, definitely. So is the fact that you wrote a female protagonist, is that the reason you have like it as J.C. Nelson as opposed to Jason? Do you think that being a man who wrote a female protagonist, do you think that if people knew that when they went to pick up the book, that it would you know, kind of potentially afflict if they decided to pick it up or not? Afflict was so not the right word.
Would. Urban fantasy is a genre where you have a lot of very good women writers, a lot of them. Now, you have a lot of good women writers in other genres as well, but they pretend to be men. So it's kind of ironic that I have to use a screen name that is, or a pen name that's somewhat androgynous, so that you pick it up. And what I want to do is I want to tell a story where you get into it, and if it's your kind of book, I just want you to get lost in it and not sit and think, oh wow, does the J stand for Jessica or Jason? And you know, that's what I'm aiming for. But I will tell you the truth, for the group that we're going for, yeah, I wanted them to pick it up and get lost in the writing before they worried about whether or not it was a man or a woman doing this.
I love that. That just is so, I think, powerful in a way that your writing is so powerful that people just get lost in the story and don't even care one way or the other. And I think that speaks volumes of it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll tell you, the real thing that's going to work for you is if you're looking for the kind of book where the relationship develops over years and you know, it grows together and it goes through all these things, this probably isn't going to be the best book series for you. Like I said, I was aiming for that fairy tale relationship where we just meet the people that we're supposed to meet and everything goes well. And you know, there are lots of great books where you can read about that sort of thing that develops. And mine, I'm going to go for more of the magical meeting people and finding the right people and hitting it off with them, or not hitting it off with them, as the case may be on the character. So I'm glad that you like it.
So I do want to pause for a moment. Guys, if you're having troubles with the link, we did have to delete the original event. It was not being nice at all. So, and then I made a second one, and I had to delete that one too. This is actually the third one. It should all be updated on the website, but you can, of course, if you're having issues, let us know on the hashtag WWWriting, and we'll try to get through it. If not, you can go to the website. Everything should be updated and good to go, so that you can just click on the links and watch it and join us. So if you have any questions for JC about his writing, about his books, about his most awesomeness, feel free to hit us up, and he will be happy to answer your questions.
So I'm really intrigued by this because one of the book before I wrote the one that got me my agent, it was my baby for a long time, and it will come back, but it was a sci-fi with a male protagonist, and there were just these moments where my editor that I worked with said he just sounded like a whiny teenage girl, and I had such trouble eliminating that. So how, you know, as a, you know, grown man writing a girl or a woman, like, I know that you didn't worry about it too much, but did you ever find yourself maybe trying to find that balance, or was that just not an issue for you at all?
So I got to tell you the truth. I looked at my wife and my daughters. I have a wife. I have 3 daughters. And I looked at my wife and my 19-year-old daughter, and I modeled a lot of how Marissa acts based on how they act. And you know, I got it right in some ways. I got it wrong in other ways. And it's fascinating when I talk with people. They'll say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I love the way she reacted to this." Or I get other people who are say, you know, no one would ever act like that. No woman would act like that. And I think, well, probably you wouldn't, and therefore it didn't really mesh with you. Maybe for other people it does mesh with them. But the truth is, using my wife and my daughter as a model, it sort of helped. But then my editor came in as the last step, and I told her, I said, we've had arguments over all of these things, but you're the final word on this. You tell me what you think is realistic, and we'll discuss it through, and we'll adapt it from there.
That's awesome. I mean, for the I think you did a great job. And I think you did a great job with all the characters and making them come to life. Even the secondary and the supporting characters are all so great. I loved it, and I loved the storyline. It was so unique. I mean, where did you? I know you said you want to do a fairy tale retelling. So where did you kind of come up with this idea?
Well, I started thinking about, what do people want? In a modern day fairy tale, what are they probably going to want? And I thought they're going to want more magic. And I thought, what are they really going to want? They're going to want more power. They're going to want a lot of the same things that they wanted back then. They're just going to want it in slightly different ways. And then once that started happening, I started wondering, what would be a way that you could get more power? And classic ways of getting more power are kill somebody who has the power, or get somebody else to kill them and take the power over when everything's going on.
Wait, hold on one second. You're freezing out.
The truth is,
All right.
And this is where we dance away the
am I back?
I think he's back.
Hello?
Am I back?
Yeah, you got a little cut off.
Yeah, I lost your video for a little bit. So the first book I wrote more or less by the seat of my pants. I didn't have a real tight plot. I let myself be surprised by where it was going and what was going to happen. And that changed as I wrote the second and third books, because I had something I had to live up to, and I had to keep consistency, and I had to have a storyline that I was driving through. But a lot of it was just me surprising myself. I can't anymore tell you where it came from than I can anything.
So when you set out to write this, did you intend it to be a series, or did you kind of just write the first one and then it worked out that it could be a series?
So the truth is, when I wrote the first one, it was 69,000 words long, and it was basically one sharp roller coaster ride, and I was very happy with it like that. And then as I started working with my critique partners, they kept demanding, they wanted more depth to the characters. They wanted more insight in them. They wanted more depth to the story. And it turns out they were right. They were right. So I went back and I started layering it through, but I was very strongly focused on just telling one solid story. And then when it was about 70,000 words long, I had one night where I couldn't sleep, and I sat up and I just started writing down stuff, and about 4 a.m. in the morning, I stopped and looked back and realized that what I had written was the end of book 3, in essence. And all of a sudden, I went, oh my gosh, I understand how all of this fits together. I understand where I'm going with this. And I went back and started editing book 1 and layering in the references and layering in the things, so that when you read the end of book 1, if you were to ever go back to, or when you read the end of book 3, if you were to go back to book 1 and start reading through, it should read like a very different experience, because Marissa is a very small player in this world, and she doesn't understand a lot of the things that she's dealing with, but she's up against individuals and entities that do. And so the goal here was to tell one really solid story, but have it weave together into an arc that over the course of 3 books would build up to something that would have readers going, oh my gosh, now so many things make sense. So many things I thought were just quirks or were just odd about this world, there's actually a reason for them. And the goal is not to have this like Lost, where the readers are scratching their head and going, I don't understand anything that's going on here. But at the end of it, I want you to be able to go back and say, oh my gosh, everything was put together for a reason. All these things that happen to this character were happening for a reason. So started out as a single story, and then I just sort of meshed it together into two. I didn't even have an agent at this point, and I told my critique partners, they say never write a series, write the first one, and when it sells, write the rest. But I was just so taken by these characters that I plunged into the second book, and by the time I actually had a book deal, I had the first book written, the second book almost done, and the third book was a pile of bad scenes on my hard drive that I had to put together.
So is it only going to be a trilogy? Is it the Grimm Agency trilogy, or are you planning on extending it further?
Well, that's really up to readers. I mean, if my editor were to come back and say, I want more stories in this world, you can bet money I have a few more things I love to tell. The fourth book, if there ever was a book, would be called The Princess Paradox. And I have known what it's about for a while, but whether or not it will ever appear as a mass market paperback, that's really up to how sales go. And writing, publishing's a business, and I understand that, so I will wait patiently and see what my editor has to say.
Well, there you guys go. If you're a fan of urban fantasy and you like the Grimm Agency, remember to buy it and have your friends buy it so the sales are boosted and the publishers want more.
Because then we'll get to see what this paradox is about. I'm excited already.
I know, I love that title. So I'm terrible at titles. Like, Nikki knows this. I'll do like one-word titles.
Oh, I love your one-word titles. Don't listen to everyone. Her titles are awesome.
I feel your pain. Titles are the most. You either have a title you love, or you don't have a title at all. And like the latest book, the one that's going to come out after Wishbound, the working title for it was Three Hearts. And my editor kept going, do you have any other title ideas? We're passing it around at Copy. We're coming up with other title ideas. And sometimes it's really hard to find a good thing that captures the essence of the story. Other times you just know. You've hit on the right title. You've hit on a title that just works. Like the one I finished drafting a book this morning called West of Hill. And I love that title. I feel like it just perfectly captures the story. But who knows? Who knows whether or not it'll survive to publication like that.
So is this a new series you're working on, or a new book you're working on?
It is a new series. So in essence, a new book. It could theoretically be a series. Right now I've got the Grimm Agency series. Sometime next year will come out the first book in the one that I called Three Hearts, which is kind of like if you combined Indiana Jones and the Mummy together, and set it in a world where the dead have always risen from their graves and society's sort of adapted to it. Then that would be the world that Three Hearts is set in. And then this is a new series. It's a urban fantasy set in hell. So you have a corrupt Texas Ranger and a prostitute who murdered a whole bunch of people, and they band together to rob the devil of his souls and get out of hell. So.
Holy crap, that sounds exciting and fun, and I call dibs on a freaking signed copy, I'm just saying. So. But, so we have some comments going on over here. Alicia Teskey says, I'm horrible with titles, too. I think it's a thing. I think only, like, a few people, like you said, are really good with titles. Like, they either know it or they don't. And but Nikki is the one, she comes up with titles first.
Not always. I mean, if I'll come up with a title and then I'll end up changing it 3 times. But this past time, I was able to pitch my agent my second novel solely based off the title, and she was like, love it, let's do it. Which is encouraging. But I actually have a friend who used to work at a literary agency, and she told me that sometimes it doesn't matter how good your title is. A publishing house will usually change the title, so sometimes you shouldn't be married to it going in.
Yep, titles change. They do. And I love West of Hell, but on another book that I recently pitched, I was flat out told, we just published another book with a very similar title, so this one has to change. So
we need a different title that's unique to your book so it doesn't get confused with the other book.
Also,
exactly.
Googling your title or prospective titles as you're writing is so important because I find it very surprising how often there's like already a title out there existing. That happened to a friend of mine recently where she was all excited about her title. I actually helped her come up with it, and then we Googled it and found out there was 2 other books with such similar titles.
Man, that sucks. Especially if you really do like it. But I mean, I guess that's good practice in realizing that your title is probably going to be changed anyway. So, you know, might as well get used to it.
Totally. So, sorry. I have a question though. So, JC, you were talking about how over time your writing process kind of changed, and what tips would you have to someone who, you know, everyone talks about the plotter versus the pantser. What advice would you give to an author who's slowly developing their writing and opening themselves up to being one or the other? And
I would do what works for you first. If you know you're a plotter, don't force yourself to do it. But if you know you tend to take these leaps off into absolute craziness, then run with that. Do what works for you. In my case, I find it easy to write the first book without an outline. I actually find it more comfortable to write the first book without an outline. But once I've written that first book, I've sort of set the path for the world. It doesn't say we won't revise it, but I start to feel the need to know where I'm going. And I think of it like a high-level map for a road trip. Let's say I want to drive from Seattle to New York City, and I know along the way I'd like to nearly get eaten by Sue the T-Rex and, you know, see the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota, things like that. I know those are where I want to go, but how I'm going to get there, that's completely up to whatever I happen to figure out as I'm writing it. And
I'm that way.
Yeah, if it
and
works.
then even when I have these major plot points, sometimes they have to change based on what happens on how they got there. So I realize if I try to do an outline, I know I have a nail file, I'm sorry. When I try to do an outline that it's detailed every step, it never works that way because as the characters evolve, because when you start, I kind of feel like you have your character and they may be fleshed out, but they're still going to be evolving through the novel, and you don't always know where that's going to take you.
Yeah, you have to be open to the possibility that maybe your plan wasn't as good as you thought, and I just follow whatever comes to mind. Like in the book that I sent to my agent about 6 months ago, there's an opening scene where you have this little bitty minion between. By day job he works as a orc in the wars between good and evil, you know, laying waste to humanity or, you know, fighting in whatever the last battle between good and evil happens to be for the day. And when I was writing the very first chapter, at the very end of it, he was supposed to get killed, and just for fun, I wrote a thing where he accidentally kills the champion of light, you know, the hero of mankind and all that. So you got this little bitty orc, be the equivalent of the Lord of the Rings, one of those little bitty orcs with a stick, accidentally killing Aragorn. And and it just changed the novel completely. It changed everything I had in mind. I was like, I'm going to run with this. You know, and then suddenly I realized that it was perfectly okay for my book, my children eating, and perfectly okay eating is fun.
So I'm going to ask you to back up about 10 seconds into that because you completely went garbled again.
Oh, I was just saying that it changed the book completely. And so a lot of things that had been almost serious scenes before became laughably ridiculous because you have this poor minion whose sole job is to go out and give it a really good try and die a pitiful death every day. And suddenly he's catapulted into the center of things. And you couldn't pick a worse guy for the job. So follow your heart. Follow whatever your brain says and go with it. And that's what works for me.
Yeah, sometimes also as you're going through, you're going to have a new idea that you may not have thought before, and that can totally change where the book's going to go as well. That's happened to me a dozen times. That's why I like to have my major plot points and have those lined up of what I want to happen major in the book, but how I get there is just, you know, we'll see what happens. So, but as long as I know I have a beginning, a middle, and an end that I want to get to, then I can make sure I go through the whole book. But if I don't have an ending planned out, like, or where a somewhat tentative ending, I tend to get lost sometimes.
Yep.
So, and holy crap, we are halfway through the show, so I'm going to pause for a minute, and let's do the What's Up With You segment. So, for JC, because we didn't get a chance to talk about it before the show with all the technical difficulties, the What's Up With You segment is something good going on in your life. It can be writing related, it cannot be writing related, entirely up to you. So, JC, what's up with you?
I'm in the middle of a 6-week vacation. After 20 years at my company, they gave me 6 weeks off, and I have been resting and relaxing and getting ready to go back to it. So I've had the best vacation of my life.
That sounds magical.
That sounds amazing. I don't know that I could take a 6-week vacation. I think I might lose my mind.
I think I would donate a kidney to take a 6-week vacation.
I got someone else's kidney to take a 6-week vacation again. It was, you know, I didn't know how much I needed this, and it's turned out that I'm actually feeling better and about ready to go back to work. But I'll tell you, 6 weeks off has allowed me to do a ton of writing and relax with my family and, generally speaking, have a great time. So that's what's up with me.
That is so awesome. Well, enjoy your vacation. Well, actually, Nikki, what's up with you?
Well, life is crazy, but this is going to sound so mundane, and I promise you I don't have a lot of time to watch TV, but I was recently visiting family and discovered The Property Brothers. Has anyone else seen this show? It has changed my life.
Oh, wait, is that where they sit there and they take people around to the houses and, because they're like, I have X amount of budget, and yes, they show them these glamorous houses, and it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars out of their limit.
Yes, and then
they're like, oh, so why are you showing me this dream house when it's out of my budget?
But it's done by two very hot twins. I just love this show so much.
But then, admittedly, then they do take them around to houses that are within their budget, and then they fix it up for them. So, you know, yes, it's not too terrible. But, yeah, it is kind of mean how they start the show.
But other than that, I've just been working on the revisions and freelancing, and my audition for Shrek the Musical is this weekend, and I'm starting to chicken out. I'm not gonna lie.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do the Shrek the Musical, and you're gonna get the part, and you're gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
What part are you auditioning for?
Fiona.
Awesome.
I'm hoping the red hair will be good juju.
You're going to be amazing. You sing really well, you're vivacious and awesome, and you're going to be perfect for the part.
Well, thanks. I'm nervous. What's up with you, Tasha?
Well, I leave for RT tomorrow morning, the Romantic Times Convention in Dallas. So I have to be up at like 5 a.m. because my flight takes off at 7:10 a.m. Yay for early flights. So, and I just got my hair done. Yay. I love it. It's fun. And Storm is whining behind me because I won't pick her up, so that, you know, she's being mean. And it is Man Candy Monday, so if you go over to my blog and you want to see 90s heartthrobs all grown up, feel free. So, but otherwise, that's about it. That's what's up with me. So
I hope you enjoy RT.
It's going to be my first convention, so it's actually going to be my first week, like, going anywhere without my husband, so it's going to be really weird. Like, we've always been on vacation together, so it's like, it's going to be weird. So, all right. So, and Alicia says she likes my new hair. Thank you. That's awesome. So, and I did want to give a shout out to Suzanne Samin, who is, and I said it right this time, I'm pretty sure, who is our new social media specialist. She is the one doing all the tweeting through Whiskey Wine Writing, all those amazing writing prompts and questions and everything that you're getting throughout the day. That is all her magic fingers and amazingness. So make sure you go and you follow her, which is at Suzanne Samin, S-A-M-I-N though, not E-E-I-N. So make sure you go follow her personal account too, because she's absolutely amazing.
I'm pretty sure she's like my new soul sister and that we share the same brain, because we've been, like, every time I hear something cool that JC's saying, I'm like, ooh, I want to tweet that because that's exciting. And she is already on top of it, and we literally press post at the same time, and they're almost identical tweets. So it's a Twitter war with me and Suzanne in a very friendly way.
I can only imagine if the two of you were Pitchwars mentors together.
What?
If the two of you were Pitchwars mentors, I can imagine you fighting over the manuscripts. This would be interesting.
I'm already worried about Pitchwars duking it out because my former awesome Pitchwars mentor and is, mentoring the same genre as me, and we like the same things, hence why she picked me last time. So I have a feeling we're going to, like, battle to the death, and which will be sad because anyone who applies to Rachel Solomon should totally do it because she was, like, the best person in the world, and I would not blame you for picking her.
And JC was a mentor last year, and he's also, again, a mentor this year. So, actually, guys, you have 3 Pitchwars mentors on the show.
Bum, bum, bum.
So, JC, are you still there? You look frozen.
Am I?
Oh, he's there.
Okay. It went black for a minute. Try again.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you.
Yeah, it looks like my video is frozen at the moment. Lovely.
At the top, there's a turn camera off button, and then just turn it back on. Sometimes that works.
I'll give it a try.
I'm telling you guys, Hangouts has not been nice to us tonight. It really hasn't. Nikki and I were starting to freak out. We were like, oh my god, what's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, I think maybe. Nope, that's a picture.
Suzanne just sent me a funny tweet because I love her, and she said, that's why I should just mentor her. Never know, guys. But I will not hear anything about your manuscript until then because that would be cheating.
JC, are you still having issues? We can hear you, we can't see you. Like, it's a picture. Did the camera come back on, or is it freezing? Like, it was mean to us.
The camera says it's on, but it's not updating.
That's so weird. You can try backing out and coming back in. Sometimes that works too.
We shall see.
All right. And then we'll do a little dance until you get back, because you're amazing, and we need to talk more. All right, so while JC works on his technical difficulties, oh, sorry, I just got stuck on the tweet. So we're going to wait for JC to come back. I know a lot of people are already at our tea, so I can't wait to see them tomorrow. And I've been hearing about it, and I'm so jealous right now. It's insane. But if you guys are going, and it is your first, there is on our blog, whiskeyWineWriting.com, Leatrice McKinney put up a conference survival guide under the blog, under the articles. So if you go there, you'll be able to find that and read it. If it's your first time, like it's mine, it will come in really useful. So, JC?
And JC's back.
He's back, and he's moving, and we can see him.
Yay!
So, now that you're back, regarding the urban fantasy genre, how do you think that's going right now? Like, right now, everybody's saying it's a hard sell. So, what is your thoughts in regards to the genre itself?
So the genre is, I would say, at the end of a wave. And, almost all genres go in waves. And I would say urban fantasy was really, really big. I came in at the very, very, very tail end of that. And I think that it's going to need a few years to cool off before it starts again. But I think anything entering it now is going to have to contend with a raised bar. Okay, it's going to have to bring something new to the table, or just be stellar writing, or appeal. And the other thing is, you may see urban fantasy crystallize further into more subgenres. People who like more story can find it more easily. But really, it's at the end of the pretty rush.
I'm out. You're gargling again. Let it catch up. I'm so sorry that Hangouts is being so crazy tonight.
Oh, it's all good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was just saying, I think at the end of a popularity wave, it's going to be a while before it comes again.
Yeah, it'll be a while before it comes back around. But I think that, with the few exceptions of, like, literary fiction and certain subgenres of romance, I'm pretty sure that's how it is for most genres. Like, one of them will be really, really hot for a while, and then it'll kind of fizzle out, and something else will come up and be really, really hot for a while, and then, it kind of rotates in and out.
That's the next books. One of them is pathetically, I guess, fantasy, and others are human fantasy. And so I'm trying to diversify and write more than just urban novels.
Okay, hold on a second, JC. It is happening again with the garble. It's not liking us tonight.
Well, while we deal with technical issues and wait for maybe the internet to behave itself, get it together, internet. We have a question from L. Evans, and it's, what age level / genre are you guys all mentoring for Pitch Wars? So how about you go first with that, Tasha?
I'm going to be doing the adult age range for audience, and I'm going to be looking for some romance, paranormal romance, and if it's really good, urban fantasy.
I will be doing young adult, and I'm looking for contemporary or light sci-fi, light fantasy. Yeah, so anything that's funny, especially. I like funny things.
Oh, I should mention that my romance is romantic suspense. Sorry about that. JC, what about you? I think he froze again. So sorry about technical issues tonight, guys. It has been just a pain from the time we got on tonight.
Yeah, we do have a comment, though, while we wait, from Alicia Teskey, and she says, markets are killing me. Just missed Vamps now. Urban fantasy is winding down for now. Sigh. I hear you completely. It's so crazy how fluid this whole thing is. You know, you have to be a step ahead of the market. But it's kind of like baby names. I was talking about this at lunch. When you pick a baby name, you think, wow, no one has this name. And then, like, a year or two later, every single person and their brother and sister and grandmother named their child Addison or something. And it's the same thing. It's like you can only guess what it's really just luck of the draw sometimes, I think. But that shouldn't stop you from writing what you love. If you write amazing urban fantasy, I think someone will pick that up and see, like, wow, that's the most amazing urban fantasy I've ever read. The world needs to see that.
But it has to be a unique premise at this point. Like, unfortunately, you know, and I had the problem actually with my submission to Pitch Wars last year was that it was about werewolves. It was an urban fantasy about werewolves, and that's pretty much, you know, not going anywhere right now. So just, you know, it didn't work out. But then I wrote another manuscript in a totally different genre, which is romantic suspense, and I wound up getting an agent for it. So, you know, it just has to kind of, you know, it's not just about what you write, it's also about what's selling. Like you said, publishing is a business, and agents and publishing houses are going to think about what's selling and what people are reading and what's hot and what's going to continue to be hot and what's up and coming, and things like that are all things to take into consideration.
Yeah. Which, like, for example, with my book, something that my mentor had said to me that I thought was interesting, and I didn't think about it as I wrote it, but she's saying how there are a ton of books about pregnant teens out in YA contemporary, but she couldn't name one that started where the MC was already 6 months pregnant, which was my book. So it was like a slightly different spin on a similar issue that's dealt with a lot. And sometimes it's just those little teeny changes here and there that could give you the edge in a genre that might be oversaturated with a certain topic.
Yeah, definitely finding something a little bit different within the same genre is going to give you a leg up. So we are still working on getting author JC Nelson back with us. If you are just now joining us, remember you can talk to us via the hashtag WWWriting. You can also join us here on Hangouts Live. We have the question board open, so if you ask us here, we'll see that. And you can follow JC at author JC Nelson. He is the author of the Grimm Agency series. 2 books are out now, the first one being Free Agent. The third one is coming out in August, so that's going to be amazing. It's a really good series. I've only read the first one so far, but I really, really want to read the second one when I get a breath. So many books to read.
Speaking of reading, what are you reading right now, Tasha?
I am reading, crap, what am I reading? It's a really good romance that I got off of NetGalley. I can't think of the name of it. So this is another thing with me. I'm terrible with titles of what I'm reading. So it's about a hockey player. I can't even remember the author right now. Nikki just caught me so off guard with that. And my Kindle, actually, wait, my Kindle's here charging right now, so I should have it. I have everything on charge, so you just heard like 5 of my electronics fall to the ground, so sorry.
I feel like I haven't gotten to read an actual published book in a while because I've been reading so many, manuscripts for people lately that are just so amazing. I can't wait till they're published.
So it's Back in Play by Linda Acher, and it's about a hockey player in his 30s, and it's a really great romance, and I love I don't want to give too much away because it's also, like I said, an art from NetGalley, but I love the dynamics in it. Go to NetGalley, guys, check it out. And if you don't have a NetGalley account, you really should get one because you can get a lot of digital art copies of books to read on your Kindle in your Nook, and you can leave reviews ahead of time and help an author out that way. So that's a lot of good stuff to do. Oh, so Suzanne has asked me, what am I going to be doing at RT? Losing my mind.
Oh, no, you're going to be fantastic. You're going to have the time of your life. I'm so jealous.
I can't wait. It's going to be fun. I'm going to go to, I want to go to a couple different panels, like they're doing some romantic suspense ones, and, they're going to have these really cool parties, like they're doing a Mad Hatter party, and I think they're also doing, like, line dancing with cowboy models, and then there's the steampunk cowboy party, and there's so many different things there, and everybody tells me to be careful not to get so swept up because you can get swept up really fast. It's like a whirlwind and all this other crazy stuff. So I got some stuff planned on my agenda, and I'm gonna try to take it as I go and not plan too much so that I don't overwhelm myself.
That sounds like a good plan.
So
it's gonna be like the best weekend ever.
Last week. I'm gone for 5 days.
Wow, that's so great.
So, and it's going to be an adventure because I'm one of the people who kind of did it last minute, so I didn't have any roommates or any place to stay, so I just put it out there. I was like, hey, who's looking for roommates? And I found 2 girls who were looking for a third. I've not met them in real life. I've only talked to them because of this, and they seem amazing, so it's going to be an adventure. So Brenda says, I'm going to be hanging out with her. I like that idea. Oh, speaking of, Brenda has a panel at RT on Friday, Brenda Drake. She's going to have that panel with Louise Fury, and they're going to be talking about how to pitch your novel. So if you are going to be at RT and you are looking for tips and tricks about pitching, getting into competitions, then Friday, look up the agenda on Friday. I can't remember what time it's going to be, but Brenda and Louise Fury are going to be having that panel.
And you really gotta check it out. I got a sneak peek of some of her slides, and guys, her presentations are just so dynamite. You have to go. Plus, meet her because she's the nicest person in the world.
And she is your host and creator of Pitchwars and Pitmad and Pitch Madness, and she's like, the contest queen. So, if you do happen to see her, make sure you thank her and she knows you're appreciative of like everything because so many authors have had a leg up because of her. JC!
So while you were gone, JC, we got 2 questions for you.
Ask away.
Awesome. So the first one was, what age and genre are you mentoring for Pitch Wars?
I'm going to be doing adult, and I'm going to focus on sci-fi and all forms of fantasy. I went for urban fantasy last year, and this year I'm going to open it up, and if you got a wonderful world that just grabs me and makes me forget I'm reading it all, I want to see it. I can't wait to read it.
And then the next question we have for you is from, if I can find it, from Gus Wood at Gus Wood Says, what's the best character name from your work?
Boy, that's a hard one because I didn't make up the name Grimm. So I guess my favorite of the characters is Ari. I like her name. I like her. I like her character. I like her name. It was originally Aurora, but then I found out that that's actually the name of a Disney princess.
Sleeping Beauty.
So I changed it, but I like Ari.
Arya is a very cool name. That is also the name of my favorite character from Game of Thrones, so that works. So I give 2 thumbs up to the name Arya. And Nikki, she's sobbing because you're not going to be there. Like, I just happened to turn my head and see that. You're like, why are you sobbing, Brenda? Sorry, while you were gone, we were talking about Brenda's panel Friday at RT, and I get to meet her, and she was like, yay, she gets me meet, and then sobbing about Nikki, and Nikki's like, why is she sobbing?
Oh, I couldn't figure it out. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sobbing on the inside too. I'm not gonna Tasha can tell you. I looked at that conference back and forth and every which way, and could I afford it? Do I have the time off? And I didn't, unfortunately. I was this close to saying yes. But next year will be my conference year, and I am pumped.
So, JC, have you ever been to any conferences?
I have not yet. You know, a combination of my job and my family has kept me fairly close to home. I love them, but I don't really fly much out or do much away from them, at least not while they're small. So I have not been to a conference, but I do want to go.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I mean, I meant the fact that you have such an awesome family, you don't want to leave them, and they're so little. Like, how old's your youngest?
Well, I think of them as little. They're not technically little.
Well, I think all daughters to daddies are always little girls, no matter how old they get. So that's just pretty much how it is.
My eldest will be 20, and I still think of her as my little girl. And, you know, logically she's an adult, and logically she can make any decision she wants, and this isn't really much about logic.
No, I don't think it's ever logic when it comes to family. I don't think it really works out that way. So okay, so there was wasn't there another question? No.
Those are the two that I had. So Brenda just tweeted me though that RT is in Vegas next year, and I'm
crazy.
That sounds exciting.
Oh yeah, RT is in Vegas next year, JC. We should all go that year and be like, yes, Vegas, baby. No, okay. So besides the urban fantasy and the genres you're kind of in now, is there anything outside of that you've contemplated writing? Like, have you thought about crossing genres into something completely different?
Yeah, at around Christmas time, I wrote a book that is in a genre that I never intended to. I wrote a romantic comedy, and I had no idea.
Oh no, I froze.
Just when it was being like super
like romantic comedy, and I'm like, yes.
Wait, I need to hear more. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you guys froze for a minute, and I guess I did too. But around Christmas, I wrote a romantic comedy, which was a lot of fun. I don't see myself making much of a career in it, but it was fun. So.
Is it anything you plan on publishing?
That's really going to be up to my agent. You know, she signed me on, and I'm writing urban fantasy and some fantasy, and you know, if I come back to her and I'm like, hey, I also do romantic comedy and historical, and no, I'm not some chameleon. I got an idea in my head, and I had to run with it, and it was full of lots of awkward situations and terrible innuendos. And, you know, it's what you want. It's about he moves to New York City and can't get a job, so he winds up working at a shop that sells sex toys. And you couldn't think of a worse guy to work at a shop like that, because he's terribly embarrassed, and you know, things go from bad to worse.
But
and of course his parents come to visit, and yeah, well, everybody's got to eat, right? So
exactly.
His parents come to visit, and of course, you know, his dad operates on the theory that everything south of his navel is a state secret. So you know, it's not exactly a group of people that are real receptive to that sort of thing. So.
But that's still hilarious, and you know that made me think of my brother, because my brother swears it doesn't matter that I'm married or anything like that. According to my brother, I am a Barbie doll from the waist down, and that's just how that goes. When I get pregnant, it will be immaculate conception, according to my brother. I just think that's funny. So yeah.
That seems reasonable.
I'm a loss for words. I think that's fantastic, and you should put that in a book somewhere.
What my brother said?
Yes, that's marvelous.
My brother is kind of, well, I come from a very eccentric family anyway, so we're always, have weird things going on. Like if you heard half of my dad saying, like, you're about as bright as a sawdust you're about as bright as a sledgehammer in a sawdust pile or a woodpecker on a metal pole, stuff like that. My family says crazy things. So
JC, that MC in your romantic comedy kind of reminds me of my husband. He is like the shyest guy in the world, and when we got engaged, he did a scavenger hunt around the town where we met, and each spot was important to us, but he enlisted the help of college friends to set it up, and to prank him, one of the clues was in a sex shop that I had to go into. And so when he's proposing, he's like, I just all these places mean so much to me or our future. And I was like, hold up. I think there's some things we need to talk about. He was mortified, completely beat red. He had no idea. It was.
I can't stop laughing at that one. That's hilarious. Oh my goodness, so we are coming to the end of the hour. JC, is there anything you would like to tell aspiring writers, whether they're writing, different gendered protagonists or urban fantasy, or what would you kind of want to leave them with?
I would say write it, and then just accept that you're going to get things wrong, and get yourself good critique partners and listen to them. That's the key. I had really good partners who were like, this doesn't work so well, and listening to them and paying attention to them is going to be essential to eventually doing it. Because, if you can't take it from your critique partners, you're not going to like what your agent has to say to you, and you're probably really not going to like what your editor has to say. So keep writing, and write, and write, and write, and write.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, yeah, JC definitely gave some good advice there, guys. Remember, you're never gonna have it perfect the first, second, or probably third time around. So you just gotta learn to edit and take advice. And remember, it is okay to say no sometimes too if you don't think it's working. But generally, if you're getting multiple people telling you something's wrong or it's not working, it's time to sit back and reevaluate that.
Yep,
So,
I agree.
Nikki, any closing thoughts?
No, this has been a lot of fun, and we learned so much from you, JC. I hope we get to talk to you again soon.
I hope so, too, without the hassle of
not
being a butthead.
Yeah, we're sorry that Google Hangouts hated us today.
So much. It hated us so much. It's only because I have to get up early tomorrow. That's why. It wanted to try and make my night stressful before my flight. I see how it is, Google Hangouts. I see how it is. So, but guys, I do want to thank you so much for joining us tonight with JC Nelson. You can check out his website. Is it authorjcnelson.com?
That's right.
Author, okay. I can't remember if author was in the front of it. AuthorJCNelson.com. You can also follow him at Twitter at AuthorJCNelson. And you can check out the Grimm Agency. Free Agent is the first one in the series, so go check it out. Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, wherever you get your books, it's there. Go read it. It's great. And we will be seeing you next week. I will be freshly back from RT, and we have a wonderful guest lined up for you, but I haven't confirmed them, so I'm not going to say who just yet. But it'll be up soon, guys. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.